When were the first European elections held? Were they in 1958, 1979, or 1994?
Oh my god. I want to answer in the 50s, but it seems very soon. So maybe in 70s?
I guess 1994.
1994.
58.
79.
I think 58 was probably too early for the parliament. I'm gonna say 79.
Yes, you're correct. And what do you know about the EU and what it does?
I don't know. It's an association of, I think it's, 27 countries now. You know, the Schengen area, we can work and travel and live everywhere and pretty much it. The countries, we have sovereignty, but we are combining a lot of our laws into treaties, so it's pros and cons to it.
I have a friend that is studying European institutions here, and he has a way of describing European Union as a lasagna.
Okay.
Which I like,
Yeah.
because it's like layer after layer after layer after layer of institution and people and law, and I think it's just too much complicated. When you are European, I think the only tangible things is like an Erasmus student. It's like the mud, well, you can touch it, you know.
I just know that there are some decisions that are for every country in the Union, but other than that, I don't know.
Not much really. Well, I know that there are laws that are common from all the countries of the European Union, and so they have to apply those rules and those laws in their countries, which is not always respected. Well, here, for example, in Belgium, with the asylum seekers, it's not really respected. So yeah.
Well, I've heard of the European Green Deal. I've heard of this data protection thing.
GDPR?
GDPR, exactly. Yeah, that's what comes to my mind.
I don't have much knowledge about it.
Well, I know it's very complicated. Sometimes it's hard to comprehend what's happening, and and there's maybe a lack of transparency, maybe. But I know there's some great laws that come from it sometimes. So.
Do you think European elections are as important as national or regional elections?
Oh yes, I think so. Because if the EU said something, all the other countries have to do it anyway. So yeah, I think so.
I think the most important elections are the regional elections because we are directly impacted by it. But more general elections are important, as well. So.
I don't think the European Parliament exerts as much power as national parliaments exert through their electing a national government. So no, I don't think they're as important. I think that they could be. I think if the European Parliament were given more power in the European treaties, then and people realize that, or if the EU, did better campaigns for the importance of the European Parliament, then yeah. But as of now, it kind of feels like a decoration parliament. Like, look, we're democratic, but it doesn't feel like not much useful comes out of it.
No, but I think that it should be, because if we want to have importance in the world, just the countries aren't enough in Europe because we are too small. And for Europe, we have power if Europe is united, but it isn't the case right now.
I think they're not as important. Maybe they will be in the future, but for now, I think national elections are more important.
Do you think that young people should be involved in politics?
Of course, they're the future of the country, so of or of the European Union?
Yes, I think we have. I don't know what you consider as young, but like less than 24, I would say. I think it's important because it's our future, and they are not helping us to interest us to the politics, but I think it's important.
I think they should. They should at least vote.
Well, yeah, the more the better. Even if it's just to express how angry they are, or to vote with with a paper saying I hate everything. Just put it out there.
They're already involved. I do not buy the narrative of young people doesn't care about politics.
Do you think the EU does a good job in representing young people?
Yeah, I think it's I think the EU is doing a good job because these European values like unity, freedom of travel, freedom of goods and everything, these are values that many young people share. So already by encouraging those values, the EU is representing young people.
I feel like most of the politicians are rather old or on the older side, so but maybe that's because these are the people who have the most experience, and so it's kind of hard choice to make. I don't know, maybe a bit more young people would be great.
And what do you think about lowering the voting age to 16? We see in some European countries. What do you think about this?
Does that happen in some European countries? The age is pretty arbitrary, I guess. I don't think I would mind, but I understand why some people would mind, because younger people tend to be more liberal or left-wing, and so conservatives maybe wouldn't be happy about lowering the voting age.
When I was 16, I thought that it should be 16, but now that I'm older, I think that 18 is quite young enough.
Okay.
Because I was kind of stupid when I was 16.
Okay.
At 16, I would only vote the one that my parents want to. So it's not important for me to vote at 16. On one hand, it's a good thing, but on the other hand, I think we don't have, well, at least here in Belgium, I don't know in other countries if that's better or not, but in Belgium we don't have really political education in secondary schools. So like when I was 16, I wasn't interested at all in politics. I even didn't know about politics in Belgium, so about the European politics, really, I didn't know much. It's a good thing to integrate youngest, but we also need to be maybe helped at school and to have debate, etc. So yeah, maybe that's a good step, but we have to think further.
I really don't know. It's a good question, but I think, like me, I'm critical, but I don't know much thing about politics. So maybe before 16 it's too early because, well, then you have to explain more the system, to give informations to young people because we don't really have them. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it's not useful.
There's a part of me that's like when you're 16, you're still supposed, or you're supposed to be at school, right? And so school is it's like its own microcosm, and you don't really know much about society. But on the other hand, maybe it's great to have their opinion on what they think we should do. A few years ago, there was a lot of manifestations for climate, and it was a lot of youth. They have a voice. They want to speak. Maybe we should let them speak.
People at a much more lower age, I think, are interested in politics more and more. So yeah, I think so. But people will say, "Oh, they're too young. How can they know about global economics?" And but everyone has a say in politics. The other questions, some people think about that. It's like maybe you should stop voting passing a certain age. I have a friend in in here that always say the same anecdote. It's like, if today, right now, we took all the people that voted for Brexit and make them vote, it shouldn't be Brexit. Not because people should have changed their mind, but because the people that voted for Brexit died, proving that Brexit was won by a certain fraction of people and the much more older one. But it's not what I'm thinking. But it's like, I love that anecdote.